welcome back to the channel, and sorry for the lack of Jeep films of late. So I'm going to do all the transmission fluid today on this film. Quite quick jobs to do. Now I've actually never fully drained off the axles on this Jeep, and that's why I wanted to do this. Look at the colour of that oil. That's from too many water crossings probably. So it's quite interesting. They're square-headed, like half-inch socket set goes into those plugs. They're obviously flush with underneath the axle, so they don't get ripped off on rocks and stuff. But they've took a bit of a battering over the years. I nearly dropped that inside that. So that drain container I've got is brilliant. I bought that from M&P motorbike place about 15-20 years ago now probably, and it's great because it's sealed once you've got the oil in it, and you just stick it at the back of your car, take it along to the recycling, pour it into the big oil thing. So there's underneath of the sump, you can see the battering it takes. So degrease these threads, and I do always put a line of thread lock around the last sort of few threads, so you can screw it in and then you get that tight nip up once it's dried in. So just get all this ready, and I'll go around. So front axle first, then we'll move on and do the rear axle. So these filler plugs, that's where you fill them up to the level where it overflows. They're very soft threads and very soft nuts. Actually, you can see the head of that's slightly rounded. You'll struggle to put a normal spanner on that now, so most folk do seem to just use an adjustable. So this sump cracked off. There we go, not too bad. We've got a lot of oil on this back one. Good chance to have a wee look around under the Jeep as well. You can see the chassis and the turbine's absolutely immaculate. No rust at all. Bit of surface rust on the new leaf springs that I bought. I'll probably give them a spray over on a warm day with some XCP just to clean it all up and stop any further rust. So we'll let that sit. That'll take a good half hour till it stops dripping. So there, just clean these plugs. Just get everything ready because you've got plenty of time waiting on that oil to drain. The thread lock type I'm using, honestly I can't remember from here edited up. Some are red, some are blue. So it seems to be purple. But I don't put too much on because some of the stuff's really strong and you can struggle to get bolts and plugs out. It's enough to seal it. So that must be a good 1.5 litres to 2 litres of oil. 1.5 litres it'll be, 3 litre job. So underneath now into the gearbox. Quite hard to get into this, not a lot of room. Things a bit mucky and stuff. I've got a right angle torch sitting up to try and show in the camera. However, the steering bar there, that's in the way for visually showing you. So I'll get the filler cap off first, and you can see the sump bolt right below it there. So there's the sump cracked off as well. These are different shaped bolts to the others. Now you'll see why the cross brace here that holds the gearbox never rusts out on a Jeep. When you've got the gearbox oil on, it basically fills the channel. So expect a bit of a mess when you do this, unless you've got a massive basin to catch the oil. There you go, that's it out now. As you can see, it fills up the gutter, but it all runs to the centre there and drops off eventually. So I'll just quickly give these a degrease and then some Loctite, and they're ready to go as well. Okay, lastly the transfer box. This is the only part of my Jeep that actually leaks. You can see the sump there, always got a bit of oil in it. And think what happens. So the gearbox and the transfer boxes are joined, but there is a seal that can be put in between them. Mine appears to not have the seal, which has been sort of diagnosed by a lot of folk because they've got the same. So what happens is the gearbox oil tends to get thrown up into the transfer box, so it's always full. So when you take the inspection plug off, as I've just done, oil comes out. Now folks, it's not a problem. In some ways the transfer box is possibly better off having more oil in it. You just got to remember and keep checking your gearbox oil level more often than anything else. So there's obviously a lot of oil in that now. The main reason I'm doing this today is the gearbox. When we did the clutch, I put the old gearbox oil back in it. But the plan is if it ran fine, then I can go ahead and put new oil in. I didn't want to, if we had to take the gearbox back out, waste all that oil. So there's a little recess there in the sump, and luckily, as you can see, no swarf in there. So there's no been wear and tear on my transfer box. Transfer box, remember, is your 2 and 4 wheel drive and high and low. Gearbox is just your reverse, first, second, third. But they're obviously joined together. So let that gearbox drain off. We'll get the sump back in the front axle now, and we'll go around again and we'll fill each one, and that'll be a good job done for the day. Now when you tighten all these nuts and bolts up and stuff like this, you don't go crazy. Spark plug tight, see that? Hand tighten a little nick, and that's all you need to do. You want to go stripping things. Right then, £10 oil transfer pump I got on eBay. It's the second one I bought. First one played up a bit. Anyway, for a tenner, if you get a year out of it, it's fine. And it's got little locating clips, so you can get that pipe and then leave it alone and then just pump away. So I've put the oil into a 5 litre empty screen wash container. Now, buy that oil in 5-gallon drums is the cheapest way to buy it. I think it worked out about £30–40, and that's usual high point 90, standard 90 grade. And the thing I'm not doing today is the steering knuckles. I filled down when I changed the steering knuckle on the right hand side. You can see the red primer there of the new one. So they're fine. So anyway, pump away until it flows out and then get your plug back in. You can do it quick enough, you've got a little bit extra in there which won't do any harm. The maintenance plugs on all these Jeeps should be painted yellow, especially, well, on the French ones anyway. You can see there's a breather, one at the top. See the yellow paint on it? But the sump should have yellow paint as well on them. So there you go, front axle filled, finished. Move on to the back next. And the same again goes. It's always the same with that oil is really sort of smelly, greasy oil, and it's quite hard to hold sump bolts, so try and not drop into your container. I always move it out of the way for it to. So there you go, pump that up, and that's that filled. So just get that. It's always messy. That's what it is. Get that tightened, nipped up, spark plug tight, and then give her a wipe down. That'll be the rear axle done. Okay, onto the gearbox. Get the sump in first, tightened up, and you can see it. See, there's a raised letter there, H, on the casing. H for Hotchkiss. So my Jeep has all Hotchkiss manufactured parts, French manufactured parts under license of Willys, obviously. So you'll have WOF for Willys Overland France on the axles, and on the sump is actually a wartime sump or a surplus spares, because it's actually got a Willys Overland number on it, plus it's got the Hotchkiss number underneath, so they've added their own number. And it's all for cross-referencing. Every World War II part fits onto the Hotchkiss. It's just the difference is the detail that I talked about before, the different electrics, stronger this, stronger that, improvements, you know. But generally, everything fits straight on. So that's the gearbox filled, and lastly we'll do the transfer box. We're nearly done. First of all, I need to top this container up. So it must be about 5 litres a gallon, all the oils. I've got a manual, but it's out in the garage, I'll tell you right now. But you know, if it's available everywhere online. If you're bought a Jeep, you know the manual, you can soon get it for free online. You can see how thick that 90 grade is, how long it takes to drain down, hence why I've just speeded it up. I don't mind doing jobs like this on the Jeep. I've done a lot harder jobs, so it's just a wee bit messy with the oil, but you clean everything up once you're done. So interestingly, that transfer box sump doesn't have a gasket on it. It's straight on with red high temperature sealant because it's so warped. It's just the way they were manufactured here. They're just banged out of the factory. So don't over tighten that one, especially because there's not a lot of threads on that sump. You'll notice as well there's not a bash guard on my Jeep. A lot of folk don't have them on them. I think it's because the exhaust bolts to the sump. No, exhaust bolts to the sump guard. It makes the exhaust crack apparently. And that's the later part drum that you're looking at there in the picture. So the World War II ones had a band drum, that's got shoes, and that's your same drum as your CJ, later CJ civilian Jeeps have, that you'll see in American stuff. So that's your transfer box nearly done, that's it. You see why not much rust underneath there. The difference between the Jeep and the Land Rovers is there's not box section to catch mud in, which rots them out. Everyone else is just covered in oil the same, Land Rover or Jeep, but that's the big difference between a Jeep and a Land Rover chassis. A quick wipe down and that's us all done. So that's how easy it is. 1/2 inch ratchet for those sump plugs, a good quality adjustable spanner, plenty of towels, plenty of jugs to catch all the oil. Job's a good one. Alright, see you again soon. Bye for now.